Guys, that looks like there's a lag there. There we go. It's good to see you. I'm going to send an email real quick. If you're joining us after this is not live anymore, skip ahead 3 minutes and we will get started then. Talking about carnivore diet and mental health today. I have some good stuff. Probably 3/4 of this, again, just like last week, is not going to be carnivore related, just because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about, and I'm going to talk about it. So I'm just shooting an email off real quick, and then we'll get started to let people know where the video is. Let's see. Next. See you guys on here. Hi, everybody. How are you guys all doing? And let me send this real quick. Good to see you guys all. Looking for our normal. Oh, you are a moderator still, Style Dragon. Is there anyone else that wants to moderate for me real quick? Or I'll probably see it pop up if you say yes to moderating after this starts. Having 2 or 3 is usually helpful, so we just get some spam in there. All right, it's 5 o'clock. Today we are talking about carnivore and mental health, and then a lot of just mental health stuff. So if you are not carnivore yet or you're keto, feel free to stick around. I like to cover a lot of the stuff that I feel like people don't talk about. So first of all, we're going to talk about how the carnivore diet does help with mental health. And this is honestly speculation on my part because there haven't been double-blind placebo-controlled studies at all. And then, of course, like common disclaimer is that if you're experiencing severe mental health symptoms or like mental health symptoms, you need to be under a qualified professional. I'm under qualified professional. If it's like emergent, you need to go to the emergency room and they'll know what to do and they will take you seriously. So even if you feel like other people are not taking you seriously, the emergency room will. And so you need to go there or call 911. Carnivore diet is not a substitute for emergency services. So the first way that the carnivore diet helps with mental health is it just reduces your toxic load. So the first thing, everything has toxins, like our air has toxins, the dirt has toxins. Plants have a lot more toxins than meat. So meat really has been filtered most of the way through. It's probably going to have some residual like stuff, especially if it was fed grains and like in a toxic environment. But for the most part, meat is really well filtered. It doesn't have those toxins that plants carry. So like you might be wondering, well, plants don't really carry toxins. They definitely do. So we all know poison ivy is toxic. We all know that like mushrooms can be toxic. And then like black mold can be toxic just by what it's breathing out. So if you've ever been in a place that had black mold, we were in a apartment that had black mold, like a decade ago now. And it had been painted over even, and it was making us sick. And it wasn't until I figured out that if I bleached down the bathroom every week, we weren't sick. We didn't have that chronic cough. And so it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to be ingesting it. It's something that those toxins can give out. And we're going to delete this person. Remove. Um, so reducing the toxic load helps your body to not have to do the burden of the toxic load, and helps you to be able to deal with your mental health, which is your body should be able to process trauma. It should be able to process like serotonin in the gut, dopamine in the gut, that are your feel good hormones. And if the gut is inflamed, you're not going to be producing those hormones. And so that is like, if we're eating inflammatory foods and it's inflaming our gut, most of our serotonin and dopamine is produced in our gut. And so this is those two reasons: eliminating plant toxins and eliminating inflammation by eliminating food that we're reacting to, definitely helps our mental health. And then the second way, and I'm not sure which is more important, is that you're giving your body the building blocks, that you need to have a healthy mind and to have a healthy gut that produces those good hormones. And so we have the omega-3s that a lot of us know are like, there have been, if you look in PubMed, there are studies on omega-3 fatty acids and how they relate to depression and they relate to mental health. So having a diet high in omega-3s, whether that's from eating fish or grass-fed animals, or there's even more omega-3s in probably grain-fed, like grain-finished animals, than you're going to get on the standard American or a plant-heavy diet. B12 in its usable form. B vitamins are super important for mental health. They're important for our brain. They're important for our nervous system. And so if we're not getting the right form of B vitamins, and a lot of people will find that if your family just kind of tends towards like depression, anxiety, maybe autism is in your family as well, you might have the MTHFR gene mutation. And that means that you're really sensitive and you're not processing folic acid, which is a synthetic form of a B vitamin, B9. And so that's really important, where if we're eating the grains that have the folic acid, and you can click down below, I put a link to this, it's MTHFR gene mutation, then a lot of our grain products are, fortified with synthetic B vitamins. And when we take those in, our family has the MTHFR gene mutation. When we take those in, they actually plug up the receptor cells for the B vitamins that are like in meat that we do actually digest. And so this is where eliminating those synthetic B vitamins, if you're taking a multivitamin and it doesn't have methylated folate, stop taking it. Because most likely, if you found the carnivore diet because other things aren't working for you, you have that gene mutation. And even people that don't have that gene mutation, if they can continue to eat folic acid, which is the bad form of folate, they're showing that eventually you develop that mutation to where you're not able to process folic acid into a usable form of vitamin B9, which is folate. So carnivore diet is super high in vitamin B9, folate, vitamin B12, which we know is high in the carnivore diet, and meat. Vitamin D is found like in liver, like I'm always telling you to eat your liver. Vitamin D is like the sunshine vitamin. That's something that is higher in the carnivore diet. B vitamins. And so having those building blocks, having the essential fatty acids, having the protein, having the absence of inflammation in your body just gives you a really strong ability, a really strong way for your body to repair itself, because we should be able to have healthy, strong minds, healthy, strong bodies, and giving your body those building blocks. You can't just eat whatever you want, take a pill, and expect your body to be able to compensate for that and have good mental health. And then last is ketosis. So ketosis has been studied a lot. Most of us on the carnivore diet are in ketosis. Even if you're just in a low level of ketosis, those ketones are so healing for the brain, and they're calming to the brain. And so they allow the brain to catch up. So if you are in ketosis, that has been documented over and over. Even though the carnivore diet is new, ketosis is not new. And it is so effective that you can look up, and it's one of the, if seizures are drug resistant, which means that they are not responding to seizure medications, which are severe, powerful medications. Ketosis is something that they are still using to control control epilepsy that isn't controlled by medication. Choline and Instatol is super important for liver and brain health. Yeah, there's tons more stuff that I didn't that I didn't cover as well. I'm just kind of hitting some of the basics, which we have all the building blocks to have mental health, and we're taking away all the stuff that's keeping us from having mental health. And that's why the carnivore diet is like a 1-2 punch for attacking mental health issues. So next we're going to talk, I'm going to scroll through comments real quick between each section and see what people are writing. And then we're going to talk about 6 free and easy things you can start today to start improving your mental health. Is there a huge difference between 100% carnivore and 90% carnivore, all or nothing? I find like a difference in like joint stiffness in the morning and how I feel with exercise, but overall like 90% carnivore, as long as I'm still in ketosis, I feel pretty good. Chris Phillips says, I did keto for 6 months and lost 50 pounds. Now I'm on carnivore for 4 days and feel better than ever. Better than I did on keto. Me too. Like, and it was 4 days. And I felt like people have been commenting that lately is like, you can't feel anything after 4 days. You're on the wrong diet then, because I feel great. Yeah, you've lived in a home that's been flooded multiple times. Mold is no joke. Not all black mold is toxic, but there is toxic black mold. And that is, it's hard because it's so expensive to fix and it's hard to get rid of. Ours was just an apartment we rented, so we moved. Sauna, I haven't done sauna. I've done sauna like at hot springs a few times. Runner is saying it helps ADD, sauna, and drinking a bunch of water after running. Yeah, definitely. Like running, exercise, and saunas are great for ADD. Okay, so 6 free and easy things you can start doing today to improve your mental health. 3-6 breathing, and we talked about this last time, but I'm going to do a reminder for my mental health people. This is really good for calming your nervous system. Is you breathe in for a count of 3, and you can go ahead and do it with me right now. You'll see immediate results. So you breathe in for a count of 3. You don't have to hold it or anything, and then you breathe out for a count of at least 6. So really, it doesn't matter if you do 3-6 or like 6-12. As long as your exhale is longer than your inhale by double, you'll start feeling your system just calm down. And your adrenaline, like you'll actually affect your hormones. And so your adrenaline level will calm down as well. So 3-6 breathing, and that can be preventative as well. So if you want to do it on the way to work, if you want to do it at set times as you're getting dressed in the morning, it will help you to be calm and healthy all day long. And it's something that's free. It's easy. You can do it while you're doing other things. Working it into your schedule is the best way to keep it on habit. Exercise, whatever you can manage, and this is something that they've done tons of studies for. Exercise is incredibly helpful for mental health. I think a lot of us jump into trying to do a boot camp, trying to do a huge exercise program, joining a gym. If you can just go walk around the block when you get home from work before you go into the house, or in the morning before you go to work, or when you drop the kids off at the bus stop, if you can just build like some short walk, like just always parking in the back of the grocery store in the parking lot. If you can build that into your daily habits, that's something that will build and you'll just start feeling better. And when you feel better, you're going to want to do more. So start small, start manageable. Don't try to do a whole exercise program that you're going to fail at and get that negative self-talk. Yes, fasting, we're going to talk about in a second. So starting with any kind of exercise that you can, like right now I'm doing a plank challenge with the kids where we all get on the floor in the morning before school. And it's just like a competition between me and my 3 kids of who can plank the longest. And sometimes it lasts 30 seconds and that's good. It's better than nothing. And this is something that will build on itself. And so if you can do any kind of exercise at all, is better than nothing. Fasting is free. I put this under free and easy. Fasting is not easy, but a 24-hour fast, and most people will see, and I link down below to a video that I watched where fasting has been used like as a mental health protocol. And it's been like curing, like they have documented stuff where it's curing schizophrenia, where people just go into this fasting clinic once a year and do a 3 to 6 day fast combined with saunas at that clinic actually also. And they do that and it kind of resets their body. And they get relief from schizophrenic symptoms, which is amazing. A 24-hour fast is definitely very good for your brain, and it's something that can help you feel better within 24 hours. Like if you start a fast right now at 5:12 Mountain Time tomorrow, you're going to be feeling better than you do right now. It's something that you get pretty amazing results. It's the autophagy part of it, which is where your body's like eating your old cells. And so just like we talked about getting rid of the toxins, getting rid of your old cells that aren't doing as good of a job helps your body to have those new cells that do a better job. Um, Cleaning up your self-talk, and I put that in with meditation. So a lot of people won't do meditation, and that's fine. So for a certain amount of time every day, just like we're doing our 3-6 breathing, you can work on fixing your self-talk. And so if you're like overly anxious or overly depressed or overly hard on yourself, a lot of people with mental health issues are overly hard on themselves. There's a lot of shame in there. Work on just like, you take whatever you're saying, like, I should, like, I'm looking at my dishes right now. I should have done my dishes. And you reframe that, like what you would correct a friend. So if your friend was like beating themselves up because they didn't get their dishes done, you would say, you know what, you are working hard on outlining this webinar and emailing people and getting your kids dinner. The dishes can wait. It doesn't matter that they're not done right now. And so if you take a set time, like first thing in the morning, if you hit your snooze button, that's a great time to do it. Kind of whenever you find your mind racing. Before bed is a great time to do it. And you don't have to like eliminate all your negative self-talk. You're just going to start with 1 or 2 thoughts. And so if you have 1 or 2 thoughts that are always going through your head, correct yourself 1 or 2 times. And if you can do this while you're driving, or do this while you're doing dishes, or while you're doing anything else, it's something you can easily get done. And you can just do 1 or 2. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I have so much negative self-talk. How is 1 or 2 going to help? It just gets like, it gets those neural pathways. And so we can build different pathways in our brain. We got to use the other ones. Like if it's just an old dirt road with the positive self-talk that no one ever goes over, we're not going to be putting any energy into it. If all of the negative self-talk is on some super like 8-lane highway, then we're just going to start diverting some cars, some thoughts over onto the dirt road of the positive self-talk and just correcting our course a little bit. And you do it a few more times and it'll start becoming habit. It'll be something that you can get rid of, and that is free and easy. With that is meditation. Meditation is definitely something that you can do. There's a lot of different ways to do meditation. The Headspace app is kind of expensive, but it's a good app for beginning meditation. It's something, they have a kids version. You can do it with your kids. If you want to just sit in a chair and set your timer on your phone for 20 minutes and stare at one thing that's like 5 to 12 feet away on the floor, and just stare there until you're bored and try and let all of your thoughts go. Like don't ruminate on any of your thoughts, just like stare at your one little piece of lint on the floor. That's a form of meditation, and it kind of gives you something to do, like you're staring at something and it's not something that you need to focus on. That's a great way to do meditation. So cleaning up your self-talk and meditation is number 4. Cold water baths are, that's a good shock to your system. If you're feeling super depressed or super anxious, like you can tell your system is just out of whack. It's easier to do a bath than a shower. So filling up the bathtub with like cold water from the tap. Some people put ice in it. I don't put ice in it. Some people have gotten frostbite from putting ice in it. But I just use cold water from the tap. And you go in there and it hurts. It's hard for the first 90 seconds, but after 90 seconds, like clockwork, it'll turn off and your body is just like, I'm not sure exactly what it does. It does shock your system out of like a bunch of negative patterns though. Why pay for fasting or meditation? I don't pay for fasting or meditation. I paid for the, what's it called? What did I just say? Headspace app. It's the orange button. I paid for that for a month and it wasn't worth it. But the version that I told you where you can just stare at something on the floor, that's definitely free. Thanks, Jenna. I'm glad you're liking these ideas. So a cold shower is a lot harder because once you've been in the cold water for 90 seconds, it's like your body stops feeling it. But a shower, like enough stuff is moving around that it like hurts the whole time that it's cold pretty much. So I would recommend if you're just starting out, do a bath and then don't move once you're in it and you wait for that 90 seconds and you'll be able to stay in there for like 5 or 10 minutes or longer. It's like you don't feel it after that 90 seconds. So a 5-minute cold bath is a great way to reset your brain and just kind of pull yourself out of a funk. The last is sleep like you're getting paid to do it. So sleep is something that we love to say, oh, I'll sleep another time. It's not a priority. People with mental health issues, we don't get that. Like you need to sleep. And so you need to do whatever you need to do to get to sleep. And so if you need to use like melatonin or you need to use some kind of like different medication to get to sleep, go ahead and try and do it for a temporary fix. But getting your sleep in order is one of the hugest things you can do for mental health. And so like the saying is sleep like you're getting paid to do it, because it's that important. Like it will make money for your body. It like improves yourself so much. And then there's some things that you can pay for to improve your mental health, and we're going to talk about those. Those, just to recap, those free things were 3-6 breathing, exercise, fasting, cleaning up your self-talk / doing meditation, cold water baths, and sleep like you're getting paid to do it. So for using paid things to improve your mental health by decreasing your overall mental burden, first thing to do is to acknowledge that life is harder for you than most people. If you have mental health issues, it's not going to be as easy for you to get up and get dressed and go to work in the morning as it is for other people. I don't know if anyone else saw The Joker. Did you guys see The Joker? But in there, he says, one of the hardest things about mental illness is that people expect you to behave as if you don't have it. And that's so true. It's like people, if you have like arthritis, or you have a broken leg, or you have like a respiratory infection, people don't expect you to come into work and put on a happy face. They expect you to stay home and rest. But with mental illness, you need to like provide some shortcuts to yourself. And even though other people don't see it, it's like a reasonable accommodation. So I have a daughter with a disability, and it's a cognitive disability. Like her IQ is just low, and that's how it's going to be. We make reasonable accommodations for her. She's not held to the same standards as her typically developing brothers. And it's the same thing for mental illness, is that you need to take shortcuts and make reasonable accommodations for yourself. So some shortcuts that you can do is carnivore diet is great for this. Like it just keeps meals simple. You don't have to overthink it. Just stick a roast in the Instant Pot or stick it in the slow cooker, add some broth, some salt, or some water, and turn it on, and you've got meals for the next couple days. Cutting back work hours, especially during trigger months. This is especially for people like if you know that you're more depressed in the wintertime, see if you can find a job that has less hours in the wintertime. Downsizing and getting rid of excess stuff. This can be super helpful. Becoming more of a minimalist, which I'm not naturally a minimalist. I don't really care one way or another, but just owning less stuff creates less overwhelm, and that helps me a ton. And downsizing, being in a smaller place that you have to clean less and do less with, may just be, and have a lower mortgage payment, might be something that's really helpful to you. So just acknowledging, yes, I'd love to have a 3,000 square foot house that's all decorated, but at my life right now, I can handle half that size house with half that much stuff and half that much upkeep and half that much price. So downsizing is another thing. And that's actually doesn't cost money. It saves you money. It can seem like it's costing you money if you're throwing away or like donating stuff that you think you might be able to use or you could sell. Sometimes just getting it out of your life and getting that complication gone is something that you can do to help your mental health. Working to remember what you like to do, self-care. So going and like really spending time, and this can be something that you do, like fixing your self-talk. Remember what you like to do as a kid. Remember what you did in high school. Or if you ever like look at what someone else is doing and be like, oh, that's so neat that they can do that. Like they can play guitar, or they can make wreaths for their front door, or they can do this. And remembering that everyone started somewhere. So if you see and admire something about someone else, they didn't start being that good at it. And so just go ahead and start doing that. And it's a hobby. It's not a career. We don't have to be excellent at it. But having hobbies and having different things that we do and we enjoy doing, and we do it not for a specific purpose, like to make money, but we do just for ourselves, that's a form of self-care. Sunlight definitely helps. I can see some of the comments, not all of them right here. Having rewards. So if you're like doing the carnivore diet, and this is something that I encourage a lot of people to do, have rewards that are good for you. And so maybe it's like, it's getting an air purifier that will help make your indoor are a lot healthier for you. Have that be one of your rewards, or replace the bedding on your bed with like all cotton or all bamboo sheets. Eliminating your toxic load, getting a house plant, that kind of thing. Those are all healthy rewards. And a lot of times people get in the habit of having rewards that are bad for you. They're not all. I mean, I bet like 3/4 of the stuff you like is good for you. And so if it's buying a book, like books are my biggest reward. Buying safer beauty products, like Beauty Counter is another thing that I use as a reward for myself. After finishing a work project, or after sticking with your exercise routine, even if it's just walking around the block for 30 days or 10 days, whatever your reward is, go ahead and pick a reward, but make sure your rewards are good for you. And there's tons of stuff that's good for you, that's great, and you like. It doesn't have to be bad to fill that reward center of your brain to associate habits, like good habits, with getting rewards. So choosing good rewards that are good for you is the next thing. So, or that was our last thing in that section. I'm going to scroll through our comments, see what we got. Have you done any blood work since starting the carnivore diet? Vegetable police. I like vegetable police. I'm not sure I'd take his advice completely as gospel, though. I have not done blood work, but so my theory with blood work is that, first of all, it's testing the serum in your blood. So it's not testing like it's just saying what's in your blood at that particular time. And if you look at, I think it's Dave Feldman, he talks a lot about how like from hour to hour, he has like all this testing equipment that he can use all the time. So from hour to hour, and like depending on how high in fat or protein your last meal was, or how long it has been since your last meal, your cholesterol is like always going up and down. And so I don't go by blood work. And if there's something wrong, if I didn't feel good, then I would, and I couldn't explain it, like I couldn't fix it by changing how I ate, then I would go in for blood work. And maybe it's like low iron, or it's low something, low vitamin D. Then that's something that I would do. But I'm not someone that, if I feel amazing, goes in for blood work and then changes my diet. Like I feel amazing, I'm not going to go switch to the vegan diet because someone says my blood work is off. Vegetable Police is a comedy channel. He is, though. He's funny. I think he's hilarious. I think he's not carnivore anymore. I'm not convinced he was ever really carnivore. I think he was like juicing or something with meat, probably a variety of substances as well. So next, we're talking about how depression and anxiety and mental health issues can look different in different people. And so this is something that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, is where people, like, you have the classic depression, which is like crying all the time and sad and just have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, like just super sad is depression. Or anxiety is like super worried about everything, but a lot of people cover it up really well. So if you have a really good coping mechanism, you can still have all that inside, but present like you don't have it. And a lot of people have been covering it up since childhood, and they think that everyone else is covering it up as well. So I'm just going to talk about how different ways that mental health symptoms can present. And so maybe you see this in someone that you know that says they're depressed and they don't look depressed to you. It's just because it can present differently. And then as an aside, all of these can, they can kind of cross. Like, it's not like you get an anxiety diagnosis and then you take a certain medication and it fixes your anxiety diagnosis and then you're good to go. It's like anxiety and depression and OCD and all sorts of things all have a common cause, which is like your body being out of balance. So all of them will have the same or similar treatments. So depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD are all parts of mental health, and they can all have similar treatments. Mental health issues can manifest as procrastination, overwhelm, hyperactivity, excessive working or helping others, which are avoidance behaviors, intrusive thoughts. And intrusive thoughts are like playing a movie in your head over and over again. You can have intrusive thoughts of like a traumatic event or just something that you didn't like that happened years ago or months ago. If it just keeps playing in your head, that's an intrusive thought. You can have suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation, which is where you're playing a movie in your head of suicide, or homicide, which is like hurting someone else or hurting yourself, harm to yourself, harm to others. Those are both ideations. And it doesn't mean you're going to act on them. And just because you're not about to act on them doesn't mean that you need help. It's not normal to have thoughts of harming yourself or others in your head all the time, or even often at all. Addiction is another sign of, or another way that mental illness can manifest, which is through addiction. And I think this is like 99 out of 100 people that are addicted, they have some underlying mental health issue and they're covering it up with addiction. They're trying to self-medicate. And so it's sad. It's sad because it's not an effective form for nearly everybody. And it keeps getting worse and worse, but it's not like they can just stop. They still have to treat the underlying issue. Live is a sign of mental health issues, not being able to sit still or relax until you absolutely crash or are medicated. And just overall feeling bad is a sign of mental health issues. And so that's something I just wanted to cover because I feel like a lot of people have those, but nobody talks about them and they don't know that they're not normal. So you should generally, like, having an off day is okay, but if every day you have to psych yourself up to do your normal daily living things, that's a sign of a mental health issue. Some things that can help are, we're going to talk about medication and supplements, and then we'll talk about how to choose mental health support like therapy, and like the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist or a therapist, and a couple different kinds of therapy. We'll go over those. So amino acids are something that the amino acid and brain connection is really interesting. You can take specific forms of amino acid. GABA is one. DLPA, this is the one you use to quit coffee, or I used to quit coffee. And DLPA is another one. And if you look for amino acids and like depression in PubMed, you're going to see a bunch of studies. Like they've actually studied a lot of these. DLPA is known to manage ADHD, at least for the first couple months. It's not something that you can use in combination with a standard American diet and think you're going to get great benefit. But DLPA has been studied with ADHD and it does have a positive effect. And so even medications like Prozac and stuff, if you can use a supplement or you can use a medication, and the supplements that I talk about, the different amino acids I did link to below. If you can use a supplement or a medication to get your mental health symptoms under control, then once you have like more of the will to live, you have more energy, you've like decreased the amount of overwhelm that your brain's telling you to have, then you can go ahead and eat better and exercise more. And it's just a positive feedback loop. So like if you go into a doctor, a lot of times they'll act like, oh, you're deficient in Prozac. You need to take a SSRI, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and you're just going to have to keep going up in dose for the rest of your life. That's not how I would use them. I'm never saying like don't ever use psych meds, but I'm saying use them. And then once you're feeling better, try to treat the underlying cause. And that is where the carnivore diet can come into play and be really helpful. TRS is, I didn't link below, but I'll edit and add the link. It's in most of my emails. TRS is something that you can use to get the heavy metals out. And so having heavy metals or having the associated fungal overgrowths like Candida, TRS can get the metals out. It just binds to them and lets your body extract them easily. It binds with a charge so they don't come out. TRS binds to heavy metals, and that's something that can just like lessen the toxic load in your body so that you can start feeling better. So amino acids, medications from the doctor, and they'll definitely prescribe those for you. And I'm definitely not expert in medications at all. I don't think they're good for you to be on long term, but if it's something that you need to do to get started, then I think it's better than nothing. And then but don't discount the amino acids. GABA and DLPA I know are definitely good for mental health. And then fasting, like we talked about before, fasting is like incredibly effective. Most people feel much better of just drinking water and maybe taking a little bit of salt after a 24-hour fast. And so if you just need to feel better, the cold water baths that we talked about, the fasting that we talked about, is a great way to not use drugs or not use supplements and feel better in a day. Yeah, I'm not advocating for long-term psych meds, but I'm not going to shame people for trying them. And if you need to try them, then I think it's better than not doing anything at all. So next we're going to talk about therapists and psychologists. A lot of people have tried therapy or there's a stigma around therapy. So we're going to talk about that. First is to choose a therapist you feel comfortable with. Therapist versus psychiatrist. Psychiatrists prescribe psych meds. Psychiatrists are not like, you don't go sit on a couch and talk to a psychiatrist. That's a therapist. Psychologist, I think, might be between the two. I'm not quite sure. But if you're going to a psychiatrist, they're going to give you a prescription and you're going to be out the door in 20 minutes. If you're going to a therapist, that's where you get like longer term therapy. Therapy isn't something that you need to do for like 6 months. It's something that you can go to 3 sessions. And sometimes that's enough to clear some block or like figure out a coping strategy for a particular portion of your life. And then you can just move on. So a lot of people think it's something that's like a year-long commitment. It definitely isn't. You can go, and a lot of times if you have to pay cash or if you have a high deductible insurance, you can ask them what their cash rate is. And a lot of times it's not as expensive as you think it is. So the first step is to choose a therapist you feel comfortable with. If you think therapy doesn't work for you, you probably didn't choose a therapist that worked around your personality or issues. Some questions to ask yourself before you start interviewing therapists is, are you slow to open up or do you want quick results? Do you know the root cause? Like, is it a traumatic situation or one particular event that's causing you anxiety or depression? Or do you not know why you're angry or depressed or anxious? Because that'll kind of impact how you go into therapy. Do you want to resolve things in a few sessions or have an ongoing relationship? Is there something, because some therapists will say like, oh no, you need to give it a minimum 12 weeks before you'll start seeing results. I'm not that girl. Like, I want to see results immediately. And so I have always been able to find ones that give me results like the first time I see them. Was there something about therapy in the past that did or did not work for you? What would you like to have avoided or repeated? So if like talk therapy, just like talking and talking and talking didn't work for you, because it doesn't work for most people, just make sure you're not going to a therapist that uses that particular option or that particular therapy method. Most therapists will do 10-minute phone call consults with you. It helps if you know what you want out of therapy, which is what those questions just were. And once you're in therapy, you can stop at any time. If it's not working for you, if you don't like it, if you're not clicking, you don't have to continue. It's not something that you're obligated to go for 5 or 10 sessions. You just pay per session and that's where it can end. If it's too much, you can go a couple times a month or even just once a month. You can stop for months at a time. You can do what you want. You don't owe an ongoing weekly visit with your therapist, and you don't owe them anything other than your agreed upon payment for the services that they gave you. A good therapy relationship is one where you feel like things are resolving. It might be 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but you do feel like there is some progress and some changes are being made. If you feel like you're only going backwards, then it's probably not a good fit. Then we're going to go over a couple different types of therapy. First of all, therapists, like a lot of people just don't know what therapy is. They're not going to give you the answers. You have to be willing to tell them what you think. And like, you have to take the second to stop distracting yourself and stop avoiding your negative feelings and think about what the problem actually is. And then they can help you. They're not just going to like magically look at you and tell you, oh, you need to do these 3 things differently and your life will be fine. That's not how it works. You can start small though. There's no reason that you need to start with something big. Starting small helps you to build trust over the small things. There's a lot of shame going on with mental illness. So if you think of some little things that you can try telling your therapist and see how they react, they've heard it all before. There's no shame. Like they know what people think. They're people too. And then from there, you can keep going. So a couple of different types. EMDR is really good for trauma. It helps you learn how to feel your feelings instead of just like avoiding them and not thinking about them as much as possible. It's mainly focused on rewriting the trauma pathways in the brain. This is EMDR. It's great for trauma and addressing the why of trauma so that you can solve really the root, like psychological problem. Dialectical behavioral therapy is DBT. It works with processing your feelings while also focusing on other coping mechanisms. It'll give you some quick wins. That's where I got the 3-6 breathing that we talked about early. earlier, because that like immediately lowers your adrenaline. And so that's something that I learned from DBT. But then that also goes into the why, like EMDR does. Um, Acupressure and tapping, emotional freedom techniques are other options. Attachment theory can help you understand how your childhood, home, and early relationships contribute to feelings of rejection, anxiousness, etc. This is especially helpful. Attachment therapy and Gordon Neufeld, and I did link to a book review I do have of his, can help for those of us that feel like we don't have a good kind of base to jump off of for how to be parents. And then Brene Brown she's a shame researcher, but she has a bunch of books. Her books on audio are the best from what I've found. And I did link to Brene Brown down below as well. And she's really good for like understanding shame and how we can feel like we don't fit in and how we want to fit in and kind of how to get that vulnerability and the sense of belonging and that kind of thing in our relationships. It's Brene Brown. So I'm going to scroll through questions now, and then we're going to talk about ButcherBox. Because a lot of you guys, I had that ButcherBox video come out, I think this week, and people are like, it's $15 a pound. I don't pay $15 a pound for grass-fed beef. I pay like $7. So we're going to talk about the best cuts and how to choose your ButcherBox and get the best deals. Hopefully it wasn't too bad for moderator. Thanks for moderating though. All of you guys, when you see me on here, if you can moderate, if you can, like that's fine to type in all caps and I'll make you a moderator. It just takes me 2 clicks, but I can't see all the comments as I'm going. So I'm just scrolling through questions now. Is fasting also key? Yeah, we talked about fasting a few different times. Love fasting. Oh, I already got these, sorry. Oh, full spectrum light bulbs. I'm going to try that this winter because we're in Montana and it's just so dark. It gets dark at like 4:30 and it gets light at like 8:30. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is something you want to be careful with supplementing. I would encourage you to eat liver over supplementing because they just don't have that many studies on it and it is a hormone. I do supplement it sometimes. Whole food options. If you want to do whole foods, I would recommend GAPS, the Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And I have a ton of this on my YouTube channel is the GAPS diet. And it addresses the microbiome and like the good foods. And it includes vegetables. So if you don't want to do the carnivore diet, the GAPS diet is the best thing that I know for mental health. Feeling Good by David Burns is good. Cognitive therapy. Full spectrum light bulbs are $6 a piece, but they last a lot longer than regular light bulb. That's good to know. Hi from New Zealand. All right, so now we're going to talk about ButcherBox. And so this if you guys got my emails, you should have gotten this. I'm going to do a blog post. I'm almost done with it. But so I did the math with ButcherBox to see, and I was able, you can get your first box because you can use my code Kara10 and you can get, I think it's a free turkey right now. And your cost per pound is $5.96 per pound of meat. And so what you want to do is you're able, when you select your own box, you choose your cuts of meat. And then I think they give you more pounds when you select your own box as well. And then if you're getting the big box, you get to choose 12 cuts of meat. But the cuts are different. And so what you want to do is you want to get at least 2 pounds of meat when you're choosing your cuts. And so like chuck roast is 2.25, ground beef is 2, but it's really, or ground pork is 2 pounds, but it's really calorie dense. Bottom of the round roast is 2.25 per cut, or you can get like 2 New York steaks and those are 10 ounces each. And so you get a lot more if you're choosing like the roast and the ground pork and center loin roast. The pork roasts are definitely the most calories and the most pounds of meat for your money. And ButcherBox pork, like I didn't think I liked pork. I thought I hated pork, but ButcherBox pork is super good. And then where you really save the money is with the add-ons. And so as you're checking out, even if you want to choose a small box, and that's what I did last time, is I chose a small box and just I got a bunch of add-ons. They don't always have them, but usually you can get grass-fed ground beef for $4.49, $4.99. I didn't write it down right. I think it's $4.99 a pound. So for less than $5 a pound, you can get 10 pounds of ground beef. And so I always add that one when they have it. And you can also get 10 packages for $49, so less than $5 a package for that sugar-free bacon that they have. And it's like nitrate-free, sugar-free, it's Whole30 friendly, and it's from that really good pork. And the bacon is calorie dense, obviously, as well. And then you can save your bacon grease to cook with. So there's a way to do ButcherBox cheaply. And if you aren't on my email list, sign up for the challenge or sign up for my meal plan, and you'll get my email that's coming out this week about how to, like, exactly what things from ButcherBox I use. And I can get my ButcherBoxes for between $5 and $8 a pound for grass-fed, really good, wholesome meat. And so if you're just one person doing carnivore, assuming you eat about 1,700 calories a day, and this is just meat, this is like no eggs or dairy, you can do under $300, so under $10 a day, you can eat carnivore with ButcherBox, and that's all grass-fed beef or all grass-fed meat. So I just wanted to go over that and let you guys know that you don't have to be paying like $30, $40 a day to eat grass-fed. So I just wanted to do that. I'm going to scroll through, and if you guys have any last questions, I am about to go. I don't think there's a whole lot more. In the supermarkets, you can't get grass-fed. At our Smiths, we can. So that's another way to save, is I always cruise through the supermarkets and see what's marked down, because sometimes grass-fed is marked down. Here, we're in Montana. But all right, I think I'm going to let you guys go. It's good to see you all. This is our last workshop until January, but I'm going to do another Starting Carnivore for all of the New Year's people. And if you guys want to join me, I'd love to have you guys, even if you're not doing the Carnivore Challenge, I'd love to have you. We'll probably do one like the 27th or 28th of December, and then with people starting on January 1st. So I will see you guys back later. Thanks for joining me.